Another thing you can do with Microsoft Teams with your students is send, distribute, receive, grade, and return assignments. So what you'll notice is there's an assignment tab up here. There's a little assignment backpack on the left. It doesn't really matter what you choose. So I'm in this particular Microsoft team. I'm going to go up to the assignments tab up here. And what we can do when we get in here is we can create. Notice it'll give you a couple of options, a new assignment or a new quiz. From existing means if you've created assignments before for different classes, it's like reusing a new assignment which you can edit, which is super handy for things like multiple sections of a grade, or if you're teaching something in first semester, teaching it again in second semester, it's nice to be able to reuse those instead of starting from scratch. You can also create a quiz assignment, and that would involve Microsoft Forms. So we're going to get to that in our next session that Christine is leading. But for now, I'm going to focus on this create assignment. The interface is very straightforward. You enter in your title, enter in any instructions that there may be. Adding resources, here we go. So there's lots of great options here. If you have files in your OneDrive, you'll be able to look straight from there, even if you're not on your work computer, which is really nice. You can be on a web browser. I'm using the Teams installed app. You can be working at home. It doesn't matter. It'll find those OneDrive files, which is handy. If you do use a class notebook in this particular Teams classroom, you can pull content to distribute to your students from a notebook. I'm not going to cover that today. Links are super easy to copy and paste. This can even include things like Google Docs or things like that from Google, which have a web address, but more than likely it would include things like YouTube videos or articles online that you want the kids to read, that type of thing. You can upload from computer. You can also create a blank document sort of as a template to give to students. But if you have a file template that you want distributed to students, you can hit upload from this device. And I'll show you how that looks. So let's say we want to find a file we would like to give. I will choose this particular Word document. Now by default it's going to give students their own copy which they can edit. If you just want a read-only copy for this particular assignment, maybe it's an information piece that you want them to then do something with, create something different with, you can change those settings such that they can't edit it. That's up to you. Now after you've given any number of resources, you can enter in multiple resources you'd like. You can assign a point value if you wish to. And what's kind of cool about this is you can even add in a rubric. So if you've created any rubrics in the past, it'll show up in here and you can attach them. I'll show you how to add a new rubric. This is a blank rubric template, and so what you can see here is a place for the title. You can decide whether there are points, no or yes. So if I turn it on, you can enter in your description. By default it's a 4-point rubric, but you can add more columns to make it a 5-point. I don't know how you can make it a 3-point, however, so that's interesting. The other interesting thing is as you add more categories here, notice that you're seeing the option to evenly just redistribute the weights. So I could make, if I had one criteria that I wanted to weigh as 70% and a second one to weigh 30%, that'll be factored into the final grade when you mark it. So that's pretty handy. And here is a sample rubric. I pulled some of this content from the Alberta Assessment Consortium website. So here are a couple of examples of that. I just left it as 50-50, click attach, and there you go, there it is attached. You can assign it to particular classes that you'd like to assign. You can assign it to more than one class if you wish to. That's certainly not a problem. and you can assign it to all your students, or you can limit which students get that particular assignment. You've got a due date. By default, it's going to post it immediately. But if you can edit that, if you don't want this assignment to be posted until such a certain date and time, you can set that date and time. Do you want to allow late turn-ins? You decide. Anyway, it's all very intuitive. It's very easy to do. If you're ready to distribute it to students, you can. If you're partway through creating it, just click save and come back to it later. When you're ready, click assign, and away it goes. And so after you have assigned that particular assignment, your students will get a little notice in Teams. There'll be a little notification in here. There'll also be something posted in the conversations tab for that assignment. So here's that notification that's come in here. Here it is showing up in the conversations. So even if your students aren't used to going to that assignments, they'll see not only will they find it in assignments, a list of their upcoming assignments, but they'll also see it in the conversation tab, and they can ask questions about it if you want them to. So there it is. Second thing you can do: create, distribute, receive, grade, return, give feedback. We won't show the grading component in here, where you can give students private or private feedback to help them improve their work, which is a nice feature as well, and sort of that grading piece, but it's all very intuitive. So that's another thing you can do with your Microsoft Teams.